I'm often asked if Paramahansa Yogananda is the last teacher in the lineage of gurus, for the Kriya Yoga lineage. And the simple answer to this is no. It's not possible for a few reasons. Very generally, it's important to remember that yogic traditions are handed down, passed on from teacher to student. And the ideal is once the student is established in self-realization, self-awareness, they also have the capacity to share that with others. Lahiri Mahasaya, in one of his writings, had said that one of the duties of the Kriya Yogi is to practice Kriya Yoga, but again, also to share this with others once they were established in higher realization. So generally, the yogic tradition has to continue in that way for it to maintain vitality. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Also, it's important to recognize that the Kriya Yoga lineage as we know it now, from Mahavatar Babaji to Lahiri Mahasaya, Sri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda, Eugene Davis, and so on, that there are branches of that tree. Mahavatar Babaji taught Lahiri Mahasaya. Lahiri Mahasaya had students. One of the most famous ones is Swami Sri Yukteswar. But Lahiri Mahasaya also had other students. Another well-known student is Panchanan Bhattacharya. And Panchanan Bhattacharya also has a branch off of that lineage, going from teacher to student and so on. Sri Yukteswar, we know him as the teacher of Paramahansa Yogananda, mostly. But he also had other students, and another well-known student is Hariharananda, with an organization in Florida. And he has a successor as well, with his organization. Yogananda ordained and authorized quite a few individuals to teach and to initiate others. My teacher, Roy Eugene Davis, was one of them. Oliver Black was another one. Donald Walters is one. Norman Paulson, Bob Raymer, and of course the ones that remained associated with Self-Realization Fellowship. And when Yogananda ordained Roy Eugene Davis, Roy was there with Yogananda with another minister from Self-Realization Fellowship. And that minister said, well, is Roy to also initiate others? And Yogananda said, the same God that is within me is within you, and you too should do this work. So we see the theme of how the lineage continues through time. Self-Realization Fellowship's website, last I checked, and according to Roy Eugene Davis, states that Yogananda is the last in the line of Self-Realization Fellowship gurus, and no one essentially is going to take his place within that organization as the guru of that organization. Mr. Davis also told me a story one time of a woman who used to drive Yogananda around, and she was a dedicated Kriya Yoga practitioner, and he encouraged her to teach others and to initiate others, not on any grand scale, but to be able to do that. And the story goes that she said, well, should I do that? This isn't approved by the organization. And Yogananda said, well, are you following me or are you following an organization? So we see very specifically, it's clear in the language that Paramahansa Yogananda is the last in the line of Self-Realization Fellowship gurus. But the lineage has to continue. The lineage has to continue, whether it's through Panchanan Bhattacharya's lineage, or whether it's through Sri Yukteswar's lineage, through Yogananda and Hariharananda, or whether it's through Yogananda's students, Roy Eugene Davis, and their successors, and so on. Why? Because the spirit of this work has to persist through time, and it has to be appropriate to the era in which it is being presented. If we look at Sri Yukteswar's consideration of the yugas, the time cycles, we are in an upward phase of human evolution, which means as new generations are born, new capacities are going to be there. And in order to keep a tradition from being locked in dogma or becoming stale and old and a husk of itself, there has to be this continual life moving through it. And it's natural for a yoga tradition to continue to have the teacher-student progression. It's just the way it's supposed to be. It's like having a family. You have children, the children grow up, they become adults, they pass on what they know to their children, they become adults, they pass on what they know to their children, and it moves through time. The same is true with this spiritual work. As we study the Yoga Sutras, as we study the Bhagavad Gita, having a living, breathing person there who has contemplated, has experienced the power of the Kriya techniques, who has gone through life and just been alive long enough to share with others what works, what doesn't work. This is what keeps it alive. This is what keeps it practical but vibrant within our current culture and within our era. So as you can see, to consider Yogananda as the last of all Kriya Yoga teachers, that doesn't make sense for numerous reasons. As Yogananda said, the same spirit that is within me is within you. And you too should do this. And what he meant when he said that to Mr. Davis was, experience self-realization. Once established in that, share this with others. Continue the lineage. If a person is not destined to be a teacher, that's fine. Most people aren't. But the same spirit, the same self that is within Yogananda, Sri Yukteswar, Lahiri Mahasaya, Mahavatar Babaji, that can be realized in our own life, in our own work. And as Lahiri said, the duty of the Kriya Yogi is to wake up, is to experience self-realization through this work, and then if it's required or if it's possible, they can share it, they can pass it on to others. So we can't lock this down, because if we do, we're in danger of turning it into something stale and dogmatic, which won't allow it to persist through time in any vibrant way, in any transformational way. So it is my hope and my goal that you find your way to the appropriate teacher, or if you need an organization, the appropriate organization, to help you understand and apply these Kriya Yoga techniques, but more importantly, to also understand the philosophy and principle and lifestyle behind them, which allows the techniques to do their work, which allows self-realization to come forth. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Yogananda was told to teach Kriya Yoga based on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali from his guru, Sri Yukteswar. And we know throughout the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there's this emphasis towards removing the obstacles to self-realization. That is what Kriya Yoga does. It removes the obstacles to self-realization. And how do we do that? Most certainly by our meditation practice. But what is our meditation practice really doing, aside from calming the mind and the emotions, refining the nervous system? Well, it's giving us insights into our true nature. It's giving us glimpses of what we are beyond this small sense of self. It's freeing us to expand our consciousness into what I like to call the wholeness of life. But aside from that, we also have to practice the yamas and niyamas: harmlessness, truthfulness, contentment, purity. The list goes on, but they're in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. By implementing those, we are creating a proper foundation, a proper structure, framework for our life, such that the obstacles to self-realization are removed. And again, if you've ever thought about a time when you were at peace and clear, why were you? Well, probably because all the stressors, all the distractions just weren't there. They were gone. So when they're gone, that natural state of clarity, of peace, of connectedness innately shines through. So this is the work of Kriya Yoga. And it is my hope for you, and my wish for you really, because I don't want to hope about it, I just want to see you do it, that you find, again, a learning source, an organization, or a teacher that is able to guide you in learning how to do this for yourself, because it is personal work. No one can do it for you, but they can show you how. They can talk with you about what might be some traps or shortcomings you have to overcome, or obstacles to move through. But find someone who is sincere, who has done the work, and who lives the life. That's really the most important thing. Okay, so be well until next time, and I do wish you all well-being, clarity, peace, and wisdom as you walk this path of life.